So here we go, a review of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. I've long been a fan of the Metal Gear Solid series since the bygone era of the PS1. This outing is quite a departure from those before. I'll confess to having been more than a little dubious regarding the open world element. I mean, let's face it, the Metal Gear Solid games to this point have pretty much run on single rail tracks, with very little allowed in the way of player deviation, while some may have moaned at the hour-long cutscenes of Metal Gear Solid 2. No one can deny that it did tell a damn good story. So what does that mean for the Phantom Pain? Opening up the game world and tearing up the rails inevitably makes telling a deep and cohesive story all the more challenging, and I have heard complaints that the storyline is weak in comparison to the previous games. In one way I do agree, and that if you're after the hour-long cutscenes of the game's predecessors, then you will leave disappointed. But I personally don't agree that that makes the story weak. What the Phantom Pain does is condense the backbone of the story and distribute it between the 30 or so core missions. The wider details into events, politics, and how one of your buddies likes to take a shower is available in the optional cutscenes, and through playing the cassette tapes collected throughout the game. What the Phantom Pain does is say, if you just want to get on with infiltrating strongholds and blasting things apart with C4, that's fine with us. And let's face it, it's fun, but the wider backstory is there for when you want it. So we've looked at the possible negatives of the series' big move into the open world. Now let's look at the positives. Right from the start of the second mission, the Phantom Pain drops you into a beautifully rendered world of jagged desert hills and enemy-controlled strongholds. It gives you a main objective and a handful of side objectives and says do as much or as little as you want, however you want to do it. And the feeling of that freedom is fantastic. Once you've completed the second mission, the game widens even further, adding the option of side ops and handing you a new version of your mother base to build up and supply. You're introduced to the futon system, a way of stealing supplies and even manpower from your enemy and transporting it back to your base. Now this really is a fun diversion from the main course of the game. I have to confess to getting a real kick out of attaching giant balloons to people, crates and even tanks and watching them dragged off the ground and up into the sky towards my waiting helicopter crew. But the Phantom Pain offers freedom in more than just environment. It also offers the same freedom when it comes to style of play. You can sneak, snipe or explode your way to your objective with many more options besides. Fed up of sneaking and getting spotted halfway? Then call in your support chopper and have it bomb the hell out of the enemy before your next try. There's nothing more satisfying than cold hard revenge being only a radio call away. On the subject of revenge, the difficulty levels a step up from previous games in the series. Your enemies are harder to spot and less predictable in their patrol routes, meaning sooner or later you will get caught out. On top of this, they'll adapt to your style of play. If, like me, you enjoy camping outside the enemy walls and sniping them out one by one, then you'll soon find your enemies wearing hard helmets and body armour and a sea of decoys to distract you from your targets. If you like to sneak, you'll come across security cameras and blocked off routes, and if you like to just gun people down, then there's guards who pop up in full riot gear or a real pain in the rear end. Thankfully, to combat that, the game includes a military force management sim, whereby you can send out units of your soldiers on missions, some of which include the destruction of the enemy's storage sheds, disrupting the supply to their bases of said helmets, cameras or armour. You can also send them on missions to recruit staff and collect resources for your base. As if that wasn't enough to be getting on with, the game also includes a truly epic crafting system, allowing you to develop just about every type of weapon known to man, along with a few more besides. If you don't like killing people and prefer non-lethal methods of subduing the enemy, then non-lethal versions can be crafted of just about every weapon in the game, including grenades, mines and machine guns. While in other games Snake has mainly been a I work alone kind of guy, in this one you do get the option of taking a buddy. You start off with a horse, but different buddies will unlock as you progress through the game, each one with a different skill and purpose. Choosing the right buddy to take with you on a certain mission can make things a whole lot easier, or harder if you choose unwisely. The only aspect of the game that I don't like is the online element. Once you reach a certain point in the game, you are directed to create a forward operating base. This operating base exists online, and can collect and process materials for you even when you're offline. The downside is that it can also be invaded by other players when you're offline. If an infiltration succeeds, then the invading player will be rewarded with some of your higher ranking staff members. If you're lucky enough to be online when your base is invaded, then you're given the option to help defend your base. Unfortunately, if you have to work for a living, then there's always a chance you might log on when you get home to find you've been invaded and half your staff from your single player base have been stolen, which is a great welcome home from work present and more than a little unfair. That said, it's far from a deal breaker. The game is polished, well designed, with an engaging story, and 100 hours of gameplay at least. I'm 89 hours in and still loving it. Well, mission complete and review over. I'm heading back to base to relax with a phantom cigar. I hope to see you there.